So please do show us some love there. Drop some questions that you have if you've just tuned in. This is Talk Time with Tina. Absolutely excited about this segment to learn more as well. And especially, with change of season and everything, I think it's so appropriate, Tash, that we actually have this conversation. To the Cupidos, we say a very good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
How are you doing this stormy weekend / cooling down a bit, but still a bit grey and grumpy?
Gosh, I think I sound a bit grey and grumpy still, so I apologize to the listeners for the nasal capacity that still seems a bit congested, but we are here.
Yes.
And I am glad to be back. Missed you guys last week, eh?
Craig, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, man.
Yes.
I'm good, yeah. You know, Romeo messaged me. He missed me so much. He messaged me.
When is Tuesday coming?
I miss you guys.
No, we did. No, we really did. Even the listeners were like, hey, what's going on?
Your life is incomplete.
You know, Cupid is coming back.
Our listeners were early sitting in class waiting for the session.
We humbly apologize. Humbly.
Oh, man. Sarita coming through saying, good afternoon, Cupidos. Ready to learn today. As well as some comments coming through on the Facebook line. Absolutely love them. One coming through from Lucy as well saying, good afternoon. Looking forward to the topic that will be happening today.
Yeah. Now, speaking of topic, as we mentioned, it is called, or rather we've discussed it and we thought, how are we going to dive into this conversation as we, sort of get into the month of April? And something so fitting was talking about seasons. And again, like I mentioned, not just any season, but I think the most difficult season, and I think everybody in the room can attest, the waiting season and everything that comes with it. And, one thing that I always struggle with is going, okay, Father, you've placed me in this season, but now, firstly, how long is the season going to go on for? That's the first thing. And then also, how do I know when the season that you've placed me in is complete, it's over? Are there lessons that I'm supposed to take away? Is there something, specific about the season that that stands out? And so that's the first question, I think, Tina, that we want to dive into, especially around this topic. How do we know when a season has run its course?
The waiting season. I put out a post earlier on and it sparked some interest in the people of the waiting period. I got a lot of WhatsApp messages and saying, oh, it's so long and it's so hard. And it is.
Yeah.
But how long is it? For me, it depends on what is the intention of the waiting. So there's a lot of, gosh, I've been away for 1 week and my English is out the door.
Gone.
There's lots of reasons. So I just want to go through some of the reasons behind the intent of a waiting period. So it can be a time for preparation and growth. It can be to prepare us for the next season that is coming. It's for God to see if He can trust us. It's to build our faith. It's to cultivate good fruit in our lives. It's to give space for us to obey what God is telling us to do. And to remind us that we are actually not on God's timetable. We are on God's timetable, not on ours. We are not in control. So sometimes what happens is we become so hungry and so desperate for the blessing and the breakthrough that is what we chase, and that the hunger for God actually dies down. So sometimes in the waiting period, He's trying to get us back for our focus to be on Him and not the promise necessarily that He put out in front of us. So when we see the promise, we just go running. We have the eye on that prize and we take our eye off God, which is the ultimate prize. So how long is the waiting period? For me, it's when the intent of the waiting period has come to fruition. So I saw a thing on Instagram, and this guy was saying a tree grows in 2 ways. It has to grow down first before it can go up. So one of the trees we know very well is a bamboo tree. You don't see any growth for 5 years. 5 years is a very long time to plant a seed and to water it faithfully every single day.
Yeah.
So you go out to that same spot, you are doing the same action, and for 5 years you see nothing. And then all of a sudden, bam, the tree sprouts. Abraham and Sarah waited 25 years. Moses, 40 years. Joseph, 13 years. Do you know what happens to us? We have a calendar, and the calendar has 4 seasons. So in the natural, we go like, oh no, 3 months per season. So in our mind, somewhere there's a disconnect with the natural and how God is letting us wait. We go, oh no, the leaves are falling. Yay, the season is changing. Now I'm going to start growing. God's like, that's how the natural seasons work. Yes.
Mm,
But for us, we don't know when it's going to end
yeah.
until the intent of the season has come to the forefront. I'm so sorry for my voice.
No. What I want to add is that the promise it's guaranteed.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? You're gonna experience it. You're gonna get the fruits in any case.
That is
But
so
the
true.
importance of that season and what you've mentioned. Fantastic. Please join in on the conversation. We are live. I see a message saying, I don't have time to listen to the whole conversation, but worry not. This is why it is on platforms
Yes.
such as Facebook as well as YouTube. So don't even worry about it. You can always check it out on our social media pages. That's CCFM 107.5. And before we move over to, or rather give over to Romeo, let's talk about seasons of waiting and how it looks for everyone. It's very different
Yes.
for everyone. Some may say, mine wasn't as intense. I saw God in my season. Others can say, I didn't see him at all.
Yeah.
In fact, he was, I couldn't see him. What would you say to that?
On that we don't see him, and I know it's cliche and cheesy, but it really is true. If just because we don't see something doesn't mean there's nothing happening in the
Yeah.
background. So just because we don't see God the way that we thought we were going to see him in the season doesn't mean that he's not working in the background. The thing for me in our waiting season is that we don't become lazy. So we need to rest. Sometimes some of us are extremely busy and God is trying to get our attention, and we know the scripture, be still and know, but then we just keep going. We keep going. We are always the person, maybe in our workplace or in our lives, where you are the solution person, right? So God is like, whoa. In this situation, I actually need you to slow down. I need you to rest in me. I need you to be still and know that I am actually in control. So maybe for you, Natasha, it is you need to be still.
Yeah.
Not do nothing, not lay on your bed. Imagine you laid on your bed for 25 years before the season came to fruition. That's not what rest is. Rest is knowing who God is, learning about him, listening to his voice. Rest doesn't mean inactivity. No? But then on the flip side, you could be someone that does nothing. And God
Yeah.
is trying to get you to move within your waiting period. So Romeo could be where, okay, I need you to serve now whilst you are waiting. Actively serve. I heard this quote and I thought this was really beautiful. It says, trust equals passive confidence that God's got you. So that is the rest.
Yeah.
And then faith is the active confidence that you've got hold of God. And I thought that is so amazing because faith is an action thing. Faith has works, right? So faith isn't just me sitting back and waiting. The trust is the rest and the faith is the action. So in our waiting period, depending on what God is trying to show you, will determine which one is going to come to the forefront. Both is needed,
Yeah.
but which one is going to come to the forefront is very important. Gosh, I'm so sorry. The other thing I want to highlight is I like David. If you read the Psalms, gosh, David is saying, Lord, when, oh Lord, why have you forsaken me? Oh, I am so downcast. And we all look at David and like, what's up with this guy?
Yeah.
But always at the end of his Psalms, firstly, he's crying out to God. He's moaning and he's complaining his frustrations to God. And then at the end of most of the Psalms, he always goes back to, but I know you've come through before.
Yes.
So God is not saying in your waiting period, while you're waiting 25 years, there's going to be a time you're going to say, yo, Lord, really?
Yeah.
Not yet. I don't see it. So he knows that you're going to feel things and you get to express that. He's not saying be a robot, but then always come back to him and don't go off the path with your feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add to that one thing I think in my waiting period that I'm always mindful of, and I think we forget it so often, is just a heart of gratitude.
Yeah.
Very important. And what does that consist of? It consists of going, but he's carried me before. He's carried me in previous seasons. He's taken me from, down at the bottom and he's carried me all the way up. So he's done it before. Surely he can do it again. Just to add on what you've said.
No, that is beautiful because sometimes what we do is we always look at how far we've got to go and we don't look at how far we've come.
Yeah.
So if you just look back to see how far you've come, the amount of gratitude that you will have on your journey, just because you haven't reached the destination yet doesn't mean what has happened before is an evidence that God is working and that there's things for you to be grateful for.
Absolutely. The men are going to talk as well. Don't worry.
Alles baie stil.
Alles baie stil. That's what
We're
I'm
just
saying.
listening.
Loving the comments
Yeah.
coming through. If you are in a waiting season and you need this exact conversation right now and you want to add in your comment, do so on the WhatsApp line 0617981075. In fact, also have a look at our social media pages. That's Facebook and YouTube under CCFM 107.5. And of course, leave your comment.
Absolutely. I want us to actually go on a quick break and then we're going to come back. And there's a very, very important question that we want us to touch on. How should we wait? That's the question that I want us to quickly go into. Speaking of waiting, we're going to quickly go to Aaron Cole featuring Toby Mac. This one's titled Right on Time. So relevant to our topic. Stay tuned. When we come back, Talk with Tina continues here on the CCFM Drive.
Don't worry, just laying down is not your fight. Don't worry, it'll be alright. Don't worry, you won't make your heavy light. Don't wait on, wait on. Love is always right on time. I'm trying to figure out my own way, trying to put it all on me. Sure.
And I think the first thing that you need develop is patience, because you have to be patient for a tree to develop fruit, whether it be the natural or the supernatural. And I think there's a lot of other components, like the sunshine might be anger and things that you need to develop to become more tolerant with people and so on, and love and all the other fruits that grows on the tree. So yeah, everything does have a season, and it just takes time to develop, and you need to go through a growth stage where those things can develop. So so you can be watered with the right challenges to produce fruit. Anyway, you guys have a lovely day.
This is the CCFM Drive with Natasha and Romeo.
A fitting song. That one is by Aaron Cole. It's titled Right on Time. You are right on time by tuning into the CCFM Drive. Of course, chatting to the Cupidos, and we are loving your comments. I think we're going to read one or two messages and then continue with the conversation. Of course, also have a look at our Facebook and our YouTube page to see them live in studio. This one is a message from Esmeralda. I think she has a question as well. It says, "Hey, Natasha, Romeo, and the Cupidos. Very informative as usual. Thank you so much." Her question is, why, if the waiting is making you physically and mentally ill, you feel you do all the right things, but nothing is happening? The balance you're trying to keep is so hard to achieve. And she says, thank you so much. Blessings in abundance. Thanks so much, Esmeralda. I think we're going to touch on that question in a bit. And then Taz tuned in as well, saying, awesome topic as usual, leaving us with food for thought. Love you loads. Then coming through is the message, hi, CCFM and the Cupidos. Thank you for the amazing show. Some days are really tough, but then I find comfort in how the Lord has carried me and what he has delivered me from. Kingdom blessings. That is from David, a.k.a. Taz Saman.
There's a running joke because they always say Tina Saman for Craig. So
okay.
yes, I hear you, David.
Yo, I think an important question that we want to dive into. And before we dive into that, I'm just thinking about the analogy that you made of the bamboo tree.
Yeah.
Such a powerful analogy. For 5 years, I think you said 5.
Yes.
You don't see any growth.
Nothing.
Doing the same thing. You're giving it water.
5 to 6 years.
5 to 6 years. I don't think we can wait that long as humans naturally.
Yeah.
I think especially at the generation that we're in, we're instant gratification generation. So if it doesn't happen tomorrow, I cannot see myself staying for a month, or let alone year, never mind years. And which drives us towards the next question here on Talk Time with Tina, which is, how should we wait during the waiting season?
I just want to say that voice note, I liked what that guy said. He said, we need the challenges to grow. And I was like, that's such a beautiful perspective, because challenges are challenging. It's hard. But without that, you don't get to the next level. You don't get to that deeper faith in God. You don't get to that deeper connection and relationship with him. You only get to know, not you only, but you get to know him more in the hard times, because you are so desperately hanging on to him that you have to find more of him to get through the season. But yeah, how do we wait?
Yeah.
So I was thinking of examples of people that actually did not wait so wonderfully in the Bible. And the one that we know very well is Abraham and Sarah. And this guy, I listened to the sermon today actually, and he said, in your waiting season, don't make an Ishmael, right? So God promised Sarah and Abraham a son, and then they were like, wait, man, this is taking a bit long. I'm a bit old. Maybe God thought we must maybe use Hagar. And nowhere in God's promise did he mention a third party.
Yeah.
But Abraham was like, hey, if Sarah was suggesting it, let's go for it and make it happen. The problem is the discord that created for years after Ishmael was born, because we took matters into our own hands. Because we, like you said so beautifully, Natasha, the promise is promised.
Yeah.
But we think like God is taking too long. He's forgotten. He's not in the mix. We don't see anything. I don't see the fulfillment. I'm waiting so long.
Yeah.
And now I take matters into my own hands. And you just actually make the situation worse. There's another example where this guy says, don't go outside your assignment. So Saul, we all know the wonderful King Saul.
Yes.
So he had to wait for Samuel for 7 days to come and give a burnt offering. So Saul is surrounded, his army surrounded, everyone is panicking, everyone is nervous. So Saul goes, Samuel's not coming, he's not coming. I am going to now offer up the burnt sacrifice. And as he does that, Samuel comes and says, what are you doing? And he says, no, look, everything was falling apart. I felt compelled. He didn't seek the Lord. If the Lord already told him through Samuel, you must wait, Samuel is coming. So I'm not going to seek him because I know the last thing he said. But now because I'm panicking and everything looks like it's going to fall apart, that's when we think, okay, I'm going to step out of my assignment. This guy actually says you step out of the authority that you've been given, because the authority was given to Samuel to give up the burnt offering. And here you go as King Saul. Yeah, I'm the man. I'm going to now, because my arm is looking at me. The world is falling. My family is looking. You must trust God. Everything's not working out. And then you go and you step out of your assignment and you go and you just make things a lot worse. And Samuel actually says, do you know God was going to let your kingdom reign forever? And we all know Saul eventually, you know, how his demise, how he came to his demise. And that is because out of desperation, we think we know what we need to do.
Yeah.
But all we need to do is the last thing that he told us. We just need to wait on the very last thing he said. That's what we do. If the last thing he said hasn't changed, we don't change what we must do. So sometimes we have good intentions to try and save the situations, but something that is good isn't always right. Something that is good isn't always God. I'll share a personal example and I won't mention names because some people that's listening will know who the person is. So I go to this event and there's a lot of people, but let me tell you, I promise you, I knew I wasn't supposed to go. And I have this feeling, don't go. But now I'm feeling bad because I said I was going to go. And now if I don't go, it's going to look swak, man, to say it like that now. So against my better judgment, against the Holy Spirit telling me, don't go, I go. And I'm uneasy the whole time. So someone comes to me, someone that I've seen before, but I've never really spoken to. And this person says, you know, you coming here today was really God sent. God told me that you and I and 2 other people and we must all come together and we are going to start this this thing where we're going to give back to kids. Now you must understand, my desire, one of my desires and my dreams is to give back, right? My biggest desire and dream, everyone will now know, is to have my own safe house, right? So now you coming here and the stuff that this person was saying was like only stuff that I've said, man, maybe like in private capacity. So I'm like, that's lady, no.
Yes.
So her saying those certain things, I was like, this must be from the Lord.
Yeah.
All whilst I'm feeling uncomfortable, no?
Sure.
But she's saying the right thing.
Sure.
She's a good person. She's a Christian person. Cool. So we go. And now we have a meeting, and I was so impressed by how quickly this person was moving, how quickly things was going. I was like, yo, I can learn a thing or two from this. I'm so slack in in certain admin things. Cool, we start the NPC. I'm one of the directors, she's a director, and the other person is the director. Let me just tell you, in this period of this soul, we done the good thing, the one good thing, right? But behind the scenes, this lady came with a lot of sub stories. It ended up where we lost about almost 4,000 rand, where we had to pay for a logo, where she asked for money. I haven't seen a cent back. It got to the point where bank accounts were open because, you know, we must have a bank account where people can make donations. The bank was calling me to say, your overdraft, your fees are. I was like, whoa. Why are you phoning me? Why is my name on the thing?
What's going on?
So this was 2 years ago. I'm still trying to get my name off of this NPC. Now, everything that she was saying was good.
Mm.
And I knew, man, I knew that I knew, but I don't know why I went against what I knew was wrong. But it's because she was speaking to my heart, man.
Yeah.
She was speaking to the thing that was in my heart and my soul. And I was like, how did she know? But it was wrong. And I still did it. So sometimes in our waiting period, we cause ourselves stress because we want to do something because it sounds good and it sounds like what God told us. Oh, and when they put the Lord on it at the end, then it must be true,
Yes.
right? But not everything that is shiny, they say, is gold. So
Sure.
I've learned a very hard lesson, a very expensive lesson, and my name that, I will be very upset if my name gets
Yeah.
tangled in whatever else. But that is because we don't want to wait,
Sure.
because the waiting gets hard, because it gets uncomfortable. So we get desperate and we think, this sounds like God, so I'm going to do it. So learn from me. Rather wait, learn from Saul, learn from the Israelites, learn from Abraham. There's so many examples where if you end the waiting period prematurely, you're just prolonging it.
Yeah.
You're just bringing more drama to your own life just because you don't want to wait.
Sure.
Yeah.
And such a practical example, because it sounds like God's voice.
Natasha.
But meanwhile, mm-mm.
And
Yeah.
how can and you ignore, man. You like, Romeo, he warned me more than once, and I ignored it more than once because it just sounded, and this lady was a nice lady, man. So you go like, and I've seen her before, and she's done these
Yes.
things, and then the more you listen to the story, you're like, okay, I see who you are now. I see who you are. All 1,000 rands later, but yeah. Anyway,
It's still a lesson, even in that
yes.
season.
Now let me just say, I don't know why I'm pointing at you. Sorry.
Sorry, guys.
Fire up.
I am, because what was beautiful was like probably a year ago, someone else asked me for money, and I was like, I could recognize you now immediately. So normally, because I have a very big heart, I have a soft heart, and I don't like when people struggle. So people like to play on my emotions, né? So normally when I respond, I will say, okay, fine, I'll give you the 300 rand. But I said, I will let you know. So what I done was I took time away. I didn't let my emotions get involved.
Yeah.
And then after thinking about it, I was like, no, sorry, man, I'm not able to. And then later on, I've also heard some stories from this person that was wangling a lot of people. So I did learn a lesson, a hard and expensive lesson.
Yeah.
But yeah, just don't be like me. Listen to what the Holy Spirit is telling you. Don't go against it. He's talking to you for a reason.
Discernment.
Yeah.
Discernment.
There we go.
Understanding and hearing that voice. I'm loving the comments. Our social media is buzzing through the Facebook and as well as WhatsApp. If you're also connected on YouTube, please do send through your comments as well. We're going to get to that in a bit. Wow. For now, though, I think I want to switch over to Tina Saman. And I want to ask you, I love the examples, that Tina was mentioning with some of the characters that we looked through in the Bible. Can you just touch on some more, or even the same, perhaps, and just the lessons that we can learn on how to wait and the waiting from the Bible?
I was thinking about the topic, and that it's a song actually. No, those who wait on the Lord, those who wait on the Lord.
So mad up and wings.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the song. Yeah, no, we used to jam that song.
Yeah.
Lekker number 2. You're gonna get some comments there. But,
Wow.
but anyway, it's based off scripture, so that's good. Isaiah 40 verse 31. It says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Right. So I think some of us have heard that, and in reading that, I was thinking about, look, what does it actually look like and mean? So it's the people of God who trust in Him who shall become strong in faith. And like Tina was saying at the start, it's about that focus on God, man, and not the outcome per se, or the promise, whatever you want to call it, right? And when we think about that, that gives us He empowers us to actually overcome, some of the trials in life, man. And some of it's difficult. Some of it is self-inflicted. Sometimes we're sitting there and we're waiting. Now, we've decided to change our position and look forward. And, it's like someone that comes out of prison, you know what I mean? You've done the rehab, for example, and you decide, look, this is the decision. But then it's tough, and it's not to say that God isn't there for you even in that moment, if I'm using that example. So God gives us the strength, and like Natasha was also saying, like based on what has happened in the past, He's also shown us Him to be faithful to us as well, man, in that way. So I like that a lot. And in the part in the verse where it talks about shall mount up with wings as eagles, which fly most, and these eagles fly most strongly. They fly very high, right? Swiftly, king of the air, basically. And when you think about those eagles, there's something that people look to, which is called casting of the wings of eagles. So it's like a eagle, né? Like you were paw now, no, Romeo. So it's paw Romeo. So
Wow.
he's nice and old, for example, it gets to that stage, right? And it's this casting of the wings, which is actually very painful, right? After like about 70 years or so,
40 years.
about 40 years, sorry, about 40 years. And he actually then renews these wings, and these wings, it's like he's like restored his youth, basically, so he can still again fly that high, he can still be that strong even at that age, man. And that's the type of strength that God gives us when we wait on Him, man. And the point about that is really us waiting on Him. If you think about the scripture as well, from a context point of view, at the time the Jews were in captivity in Babylon, and they're wondering, when is something gonna happen? We're waiting for so long, we've tried for so long. Some of them went to other gods, some of them died. A lot of things happened, right? But there were also those who had to be encouraged with us at the time. So I think the encouragement to us all is that if we are able to wait like that, in that way, that the Lord indeed we'll be strengthened, right, with our faith in Him. And we'll get to the point where we're actually running and not getting weary. Imagine that, walk and not faint, man. Because we know that we are carried by Him, man, right? We've got those new feathers, we're strong. Imagine that. So I think that's just the amazing part about it. And like we all were mentioning, that from a personal point of view, it's not the best thing to sometimes wait, but sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's necessary, and sometimes we don't like to hear that. And God is also asking us, what are we doing in that time? Like the other gentleman mentioned, like, are we really patient, right? Are we persevering? Is that perseverance then growing our character, right? And who are we then in that time? Because sometimes I'm even like that. Like when things don't go your way, then it's almost like you switching over to another person. You're like, you're acting in a certain way. You're like, you need to check yourself and say, look, why am I acting in this way? Why am I falling for this thing? Why am I going astray? Why am I thinking in this way? Why is my focus not on God, man? And so often we can focus on our problems and not really focus on God. So I think that's really the encouragement today to do that.
I just want to say on the eagle thing, the eagle actually has a choice to renew his feathers or not, right? So if the eagle doesn't, his life basically will come to an end very shortly. But if he does, he gets to live up to 70 years old. But he has to go to a very, very high mountaintop. He has to go and pluck out his beak. He has to pluck out his feathers. He has to sharpen his talons. So it's not a very pretty sight. It's a gory sight. It's horrible. But if he does that, he then gets like another 30 years where he's refreshed and renewed as if he was this young eagle again. We want to have the 70 years without having that period in between of things that needs to be plucked out. And the waiting is to get rid of those things. The waiting is to try and get us to be closer to Jesus. So if that can be our focus, and I know it's not hard. I'm also human. I know it's not easy. I'm also human. But if our focus can be, it's going to get me to see and be closer to Jesus. Isn't that the goal? We must stop chasing the promise. Like Natasha said, the promise is promised. So let us know that and be content with when it comes, it comes. Let us not try and push it forward because it just makes it longer anyway. Sorry.
And just on that strength thing, something that Barnes writes, he says, strength has been given to bear trial without complaining, to engage in sometimes in the mundane without fainting, to pursue all life's troublesome journey without exhaustion, without being exhausted, and to rise above the world in hope and peace. And that is just the thing for me is also, it's not just about the God of the past. He's the God in the present, and He's the God of the future, man. So don't forget that as well. He knows the beginning, from the end. So you're in good hands.
You are in good hands. A couple more minutes left. Just want to quickly touch on some messages. Annaline coming through saying, good day. In your waiting period, that time you think nothing is happening, I think God is protecting us from something bad, and he's protecting us as well. Thank you for that comment coming through. And Lean Posto coming through saying, hi family, I'm loving the conversation that is happening. As well saying, preach it, Tina. And Craig, we definitely need to hear this. Another message, I'm just going to quickly touch on a few more before I move on to the final thing. Carmen as well coming through saying, shoo, thanks, Tina, Natalie Cupido. Needed to hear that. Bless you, and as well as Craig as well. Dulicia as well also saying a text message saying, the farmer's preparing the soil before sowing. He has to work and till the ground and allow the ground to rest before sowing.
Sure.
So waiting doesn't mean we do nothing.
Yes.
We work on our prayer life and the fruits of the Spirit, so that our heart can be ready to receive the breakthrough that God has in store for us. God bless everyone. Much love as well. Thank you so much for that. Another one quickly. Rosalind as well coming through saying, David had to wait to be king, even though he was anointed at a young age. Such beautiful messages as well coming through on the WhatsApp line. Sure. We also have a voice note, but because of time, we're not going to be able to play that now. I think just closing comments for Talk Time with Tina. I think that's, let's go to our closing comments.
No problem. I just want to, I like using this example. I think I've used it before, but Usain Bolt runs for 9 seconds, or he ran for 9 seconds. But he trained for 4 years. So we like to have the 9 seconds without having the 4 years.
Yeah.
And we are not ready to receive the 9 seconds without the 4 years. We live, like you said, Roma, in a culture and a time where everything is easy and quick. And what a disservice we do to ourselves, because we actually are not building the character that we need to receive this promise or breakthrough that God is. And they're tilling the soil and letting it rest. Ish. We can learn a lot from farmers. But just the one thing that I want to say, my end comment is the post that I put out. This comment that I saw was, waiting on God is God's will being done in God's way, right? And I was like, oh, that is so, because I like this guy. I can't say his surname properly, but it's Nick Vucic. I don't know how you say it, but he was born without arms and out legs. And he prayed and he prayed and he prayed for God to give him arms and to give him legs, and God did not, right? But he goes around the world. He speaks to presidents, he speaks to kids at schools, and he's impacting people's lives with no arms and with no legs. So God's waiting is God's will in God's way. Then there's another lady I follow. Her name is Catherine Wolf. Her Instagram page is called Hope Heals. She got a stroke when she was 26 years old. Do you think she did not pray for healing?
Sure.
Of course she did. But she's married. She's in a wheelchair. She's got some of her parts of her face and her body's a bit paralyzed. She goes around the world preaching about Jesus and giving people hope through her situation. So sometimes when we pray, we don't get the answer that we think we need. And sometimes it's hard and it's junk. But God uses you the way He needs to use you. And those people are changing the world. So when we are praying and when we are waiting, let us fully surrender to what it is God wants us to do. Full stop, period. Mic drop. Bye.
Dis al wat ek sê. Absolutely beautiful. Again, just because of time, we have to wrap it up. We've got news in the next few seconds, but please check out our social media pages. That's Facebook and YouTube. We were live. We're about to end the live, but of course you can get this gem and this conversation on our